All right, so I'm back, and so first off, sorry on delays on the videos in last week. I don't think I got any videos out. I wanted to do a viewer response for my rant of the week about collections, which I did, I think, 2 weeks ago now. But honestly, it was I had too many people comment. I think there was like over 40 comments, so it would have taken well over an hour, and a lot of big comments because people are explaining their collections. So I want to thank everybody that put out comments on those. I've read pretty much all of them, so it was really kind of cool seeing all these different people's collections and stuff. And yeah, it just would have taken way too long to do a video on, on all the comments. So yeah, big thank you to everybody that commented on there. Also, real quick, I'll put the link below. We are still doing a giveaway for the Fans Toy Cyclonus. So I still have tickets available for that if you're interested. I'll put the link below to the Facebook page. We were doing the X-Transbot Cliff Jumper, and we just fully funded it. So I have purchased it. It's a holiday, and I purchased it over the weekend, so it might be a couple days before it even ships out still. But as soon as we get it, we'll be able to take a look at it. But the main thing I wanted to do in this video, and you'll probably know this by the title, is kind of an intro video to some reviews I'm going to be doing in the near future, over the next few weeks, months. It's going to take a little while to get through everything. Now, I wanted to do this a long time ago, but then I saw that Skullface had done something similar, and I didn't want to seem like I'm copying him, but we're gonna do it anyway, because I really want to, and that's going to be, we're gonna be reviewing Moon Knight, quite a large catalog of his comics and appearances, and we're gonna be doing it in his sections. So I mean, obviously I can't do all. I don't have the West Coast Avengers when he was in there, and a lot of the really new stuff. I don't have those. Because the writing's been kind of up and down with him in the past like 8 or 9 years or so, and it's just gotten to the point where I'm like, So I kind of keep an eye on the character, but I haven't really been collecting the comics. So we do have, I do have a number of the books. Essential Moon Knights is what we'll be going through, because it'll be easier than going through all the individual comics, and then we will go through the individual comics with some of the later series that I have as well. So I mean, yeah, we've got quite a bit to go through with it. Now, what I wanted to do today, not only explain that we're going to be doing this, talking about the character. We're talking about his comics appearances. There's also going to be a lot of comparisons with Batman, because that's what DC, a lot of people say that Moon Knight is Marvel's version of Batman, which for the early comics, I cannot I cannot disagree more with them on that. But as we get later, you'll start seeing some actual comparisons. So there will be a lot of Batman comparisons in these upcoming videos. And yeah, we'll just be kind of going through it. And the other thing I wanted to talk about real quick is the characters. Now, if I were to sit here and do this kind of review on Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, one of those people, if I were to sit here and tell you Lois Lane, you know who Lois Lane is. If I say Mary Jane, you know who Mary Jane is. Hell, if I say Aunt May, you'll probably know who Aunt May is. Alfred, you know the characters. Now, Moon Knight you don't know the character, a lot of people won't know the characters as well as I do. So I just want to do a quick intro video to those and discuss some of their characters, so I don't have to like fully explain some of the big characters as we're going. So first off, there's Mark Spector. He's Moon Knight. He's he born Jewish, turned boxer, and from there he joined the Marines. Or I'm sure he joined the armies and then to the Marines. And then after, I believe, Black Ops, he ended up quitting the Marines and going freelance. So he became a mercenary. So gun for hire, not a good guy. From there, he joined with a gentleman called Frenchie. John Paul Duchamp, I believe. Jean Paul. He's French. He's a helicopter pilot. They become really good friends and partners. He would helicopter him in and pull him out when things got rough. Also a mercenary. Lots of military background on him as well. And then later on throughout the comics, he becomes kind of like, I wouldn't say sidekick, but chauffeur would be a better word, because he does jump in every now and then, but for the most part he's piloting Moon Knight into things and piloting him out. Also, while they're in the mercenary days, they come across Raoul Bushman, who has a skull tattooed on his face, and he's replaced all his teeth with steel fangs. And obviously he's going to be the bad guy. But they are actually really good friends for a while, worked together and did a whole bunch of stuff. And then eventually Moon Knight comes across, they all come across a Egyptian town, and Raoul wants to steal everything, and he starts shooting people, and Mark Spector doesn't want that, gets shot, left for dead, dies, and then comes back as Moon Knight. So Bushman is responsible for creating Moon Knight in that sense. So yeah, we got okay. So Bushman, also ex-mercenary, or I think he's current mercenary. Very, very important to the background of Moon Knight and Mark Spector. Now, Moon Knight also creates two other identities, and he starts going through an identity crisis. We'll get into that later on into the comics, but there's Jake Lockley, who is a cab driver who's down on the streets, makes friends with the lower class, so he can kind of get a feel of things going on there. And then he also becomes Stephen Grant, and that's his social ID. Social identity, where he's a millionaire, wealthy, socialite kind of person, akin to Bruce Wayne, we'll say. But you gotta say Tony Stark, anybody that's wealthy in the social eye, who has a comic book identity or whatever. Alright, so he's got a maid butler who kind of pop in here and there, but they're not that important. The next one is Randall Spector. That's his brother. Now, he became a little unstable, and Mark Spector thought he died, but he actually didn't die, and he'll come back a few times. Not a major, reoccurring villain, but in major story arcs that are important to the character of Moon Knight. And we'll get into those again once we get into the books. I just wanted to explain briefly, who he is and that he's there. And then another important character is Marlene. Now, Marlene is Mark Spector's girlfriend. She actually ends up getting involved in quite a few of the cases, Similar to like a Mary Jane, Lois Lane. But for a lot of the part, she kind of just hangs back. She's an important influence on Mark. A lot of things that happen, he does because she's there. Or she becomes the damsel in distress a couple times. So it's an important aspect. They also have a relationship that's a little strange. So it's like sometimes they hate each other, sometimes they love each other, and it kind of goes back and forth. It seems like a more of a realistic type relationship, not the whole madly in love with each other, and that's the end of it. It's also interesting that she is more in love with Stephen Grant, the billionaire or the millionaire identity, than she is with Mark Spector. She doesn't care so much for Mark Spector. It's Stephen Grant. I think I said Stephen Grant earlier. I hope I did. Otherwise, I screwed up. Oh, so those are the main characters of the whole Moon Knight arc. We got Frenchie, Mark, Spector, of course, Midnight, blah blah blah, and Marlene. Those are the three heroes of the story, protagonists, right? So, and then we got our antagonists. We've got Randall Spector and we got Bushman. Those are the main characters. There's other villains that he comes across throughout his career, and we'll get into those. He's got some that change up. One dies and somebody else takes his place. Kind of villains. But overall, he doesn't really have an extensive rogues gallery that survive. Again, we'll get into all that as we go. We'll start off with Essential Moon Knight Volume 1. This is going to be easier to go through. I don't have all the early appearances in comic book form, except for here. So this will be a good place to kind of start. We'll go into Werewolf by Night stuff and move into his team-ups. So he essentially, he never got his own comic book right away. He was part of Werewolf by Night. He fought the werewolf there, and yeah. Let's see. So he fought the werewolf, did some Marvel team-ups, eventually ended up in the back end of Hulk magazines. And that was where he was for a while. Just kind of like at the end of Hulk stories. There's a good one that we'll go into where he actually comes across the Hulk. And then eventually he does get his own comic. So this does go through all the early days and then the first 10 of his actual comic book. And then I've got volume 1, 2, and 3. That gets us through to the end of Fist of Khonshu, the second Moon Knight series, and also the early stages of his West Coast Avengers. Then we'll go through. Then we'll start going through the volume 3, the Mark Spector Moon Knight, and we'll just kind of go from there. So it's going to take us a little while to get through it all. I'll probably tackle the volumes in one video. Might be long videos, but yeah. And then the Mark Spector, we'll have to break that up a little bit. Because it is one of the bigger series. And then, let's see, I know there's 2 miniseries that he has, High Strangeness and Resurrection Wars. We'll go through those 2 together, I'm sure. And then volume 4, we'll probably split that up a little bit further in volume 4 because advantage about that is there's like 6 or 7 comics that are complete story arcs. So we'll go through those as opposed to the individual comics. And then eventually we'll get to the Vengeance of the Moon Knight, and that's probably where we'll probably continue on, because after Vengeance of the Moon Knight, there's Moon Knight like volume, I think it's 8 at this point, but I think they call it volume 5. We'll go through that, and then the beginning parts of the next volume, because it's Marvel, aren't comic books in general. So it's like, oh, how do we make our character fresh and new? Oh, I know. We'll just end the series and start a new one and get a new number 1 out there. It's like, no, stop it. Stop it. But yeah, we'll go through most of the ones I have. I will just kind of see how it goes. Just kind of talking about the comic books and what happens. And, yeah. So again, it's going to seem like I've copied Skullface a little bit on this. But, yeah, I had the idea a long time ago before I saw any of his videos like that. And I wanted to do it. Then I saw some of his videos. I think mine are going to be a lot different than his, because he does a lot more editing, a lot more planning, and a lot more... it sounds like he scripted it when he talks about it, which is a good thing for him. Me, I just kind of fly off the seat of my pants, so we'll just kind of just go for it. So yeah, that's what's coming up. And I guess we'll find out if you guys even enjoy it or not. Kind of go from there. I do have some reviews that I will be coming up with in the near future. I'm still trying to finish the review station so that we have a place to review it. I got the Shadow Panther. He's supposed to be in today. I got a SH Monster Arts Godzilla that I want to look at. And, of course, the X-Transbots Cliff Jumper coming soon. So, maybe later this week, but probably not till next week. I would imagine seeing more reviews. Figure reviews. So, and I should be getting a Power of the Primes Predaking to look at. But we'll see. But yeah, I guess that's it.